Tonight we've got Anton Grimus, two-time Olympian, Sochi in 2014 and PyeongChang in 2018. It's a great honour to have you here, Anton. Thank you for joining us. Why did you want to be an Olympian?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. The museum. Ellie, do you want to come sit next to me?
Hello, Ellie.
This is Ellie, my daughter. She's the quickest skier in Mount Buller. So thanks to the museum for having me and obviously pushing all the history and compiling it. There's a lot of man hours that go into compiling all this information. A lot of filming, a lot of going through films. So thanks to everyone here tonight helping out. The museum's looking great. The question, Olympian, I don't like when I was a younger kid, I'd never really wanted to be like an Olympian. I wanted to ski fast like Ality wants to on Burke Street and past, but not so fast when we go past Koffler's because it's always a quick stop in Koffler's. But no, I've always been competitive, I think. But I didn't really have my eyes set on going to the Olympics until I was about 19 or 20. My sort of skiing wasn't really there. I finished school, I was a big rower into that, and I just so happened I was injured and I came back to the race club for a season, back at home, do the winter, work a bit in the restaurant, maybe have one or two schnapps, ski some slalom gates, and it just went from there.
So you're the accidental Olympian?
Yeah, maybe. Still a lot of hard work.
And so you told me tonight you've lent the museum your favourite pair of skis. Are these, your fastest skis?
I think they were. I think I had them from 2010, which was my first year on the World Cup Tour. I fell in love with them, and we do this thing, ski testing, every couple of weeks where we ski in a straight line for about 30 metres, and we test all of our skis on the same wax, and it takes half a day to do. But they always were the quickest skis, and no matter what we tried to do, we got new skis, waxed them in, skied them in. They kept on being very quick, and these skis, still number 4 skis. I'm not sure if Danny's here tonight, but Danny, my coach, is up here at Buller for the season. But he used to spend a lot of time waxing skis as well. And I had an affinity for number 4 skis, and they'll be out there somewhere. They went to two World Champs and Olympic Games, and I got my podium at World Cup on them. So they mean a lot.
While we're talking about equipment, I hear you've got big feet. I think you modestly told me they're 15s. I reckon they're probably 17s. How did you go getting ski boots?
Well, there's a guy in Alaska, and I'm not sure if he doesn't call them boots. He calls them canoes. No, ski boots, it was always tough. My feet, a lot of athletes think, people think of athletes, especially skis, how are your knees going? But for me, it's really how my feet going. My big toes bent 45 degrees in the opposite direction. And so they couldn't find boots that were big enough. So I was always pushing the front of the boots, and I think that's why my toes started to bend. So anyway, the head factory in Kennelbach in Austria, they managed to find a bigger mold because the mold is expensive, and inject the racing plastic into it. And they were generous. Austrians, very good people, the Austrians. And they made about 15 pairs for me and kept them on the rack next to Bodie Miller and Ted Ligety, which was pretty special. But then every time I came back, I felt like I was in the cage and in the zoo, because they could not believe this Australian with this big feet, and they were showing me off to everyone.
And so, whilst you went to 2 Olympics, you actually had genuine success in World Cup skiing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I hit the ground running in ski cross, coming from an Alpine background pretty quickly. More probably a bit quicker than I expected as well. I switched over in the first World Cup. I qualified 4th and then 2nd. So I was this Aussie kid I had a Chopper Reed moustache at the time, and no one knew who I was, but I was skiing really quick. So I took off pretty well in the first couple of years, got a podium pretty early on, and Yeah, no, I was always competitive in the qualifications. I was quick in a straight line. Um, some people say that's got to do with my weight. I think it's got to do with some good skiing ability.
Well, it's got nothing to do with it, mate. Now, you came to ski across as a new sport. It had only been to the prior Olympics, and it wasn't like ski across today, was it? Is it?
No, it's changed a lot over the years. It was in the X Games first, and that was really big jumps. Go as fast as you can, jump as far as you can, and there was 6x6 down a hill. Then I got in the Olympics, and it's sort of since then it's gotten away from the big jumps where you're going 80, 90 Ks and jumping 55 meters to more of a technical, more technical Alpine turns, smaller rollers, and more precise movements.
Do you think it's better now, or was it better when you were doing it?
I enjoyed the big time when you had big air. At the World Cups, it was always, regardless of the year, it was always a lot smaller than the Olympic Games. You rocked up to the Olympic Games, and the courses were bigger. The skis were faster. Everything was big. It's the Olympics, so they made them big, and it was a lot different to the courses that we actually skied. So, some of the girls found the Olympic tracks quite intimidating. But I loved them. I loved the jumping. I was good in the air. And from my Alpine background, I was, comfortable in the turns as well.
And tell me about your supporters. Who are the people who actually got you there, made it possible for you?
Can get me in trouble here. Probably firstly was the schnitzel. Because let's be honest, schnitzels, eat schnitzels, grow big and ski fast. Was one of my mottos. No, so the schnitzels, but behind that is the family. So mum and dad always supported us skiing. I think dad, came from the flatlands in Austria, but most people, who come to the hotel thought that dad was an Austrian Alpine pioneer who, skied to school with his skis. And yes, he grew up in the snow, but it was pretty flat where he came from. So I think he had a lot of Austrian connections, a lot of friends that he knew from Austria that sort of, when I started racing and did year after year over there, he was pretty proud. So definitely my parents. And I'd probably say from a coaching point of view, Stoffel Meyer. Christoph, he was the technical director here at the race club for maybe 6 or 8 years. But he was a big supporter through when I was a kid. He coached me, and then all throughout my World Cup, he was home away from home over in Leogang. So the coaches do make a big impact in these kids.
And just staying on the ski cross for a while, you said it had a lot of similarities to BMX racing. Was it really true? It was true. Because ski cross is relatively new sport in terms of the professional sense and in the Olympic sense. There wasn't much history, and there wasn't many textbooks on how to be fast or what to do, but we looked to other material we could seek out. And the skis at the end of the day, they're very good skiers, but trying to find an edge in any capacity that we had was a way to get better. So we looked at BMX textbooks, how to generate speed, not only with gravity and through the turns, but just like a half pipe, you can press down on the downslope. You can take that into ski cross. There's a bunch of different jumping techniques to flatten out to make you jump longer but not higher. So yeah, we looked at BMX quite a bit. And so it worked out. It was a good strategy. Yeah, I didn't read the part on crashing, so. I think there's a lot less body contact now in ski cross, but that might be there, not your size. Yeah, the rules, just like AFL, has got a bit stricter with the contact. Go the Pies. Big game this weekend. No, but yeah, it's sort of, you never really had contact, but I think with ski cross being publicised more, being on TV and having the ability to review the runs in live, like as it is on the hill,
Probably they've been just enforced a lot more than they have, but contact's always been something that has been sort of forbidden. But the tracks now are they're made so that, you know, out of the gate you're not skating, so you're not getting in the way of each other's skis. But it was a bit, you know, cowboyish back in the day.
Now, you touched before on your rowing career, which skiing saved you from, but I understand you were on your way overseas, and it might have been a completely different world for you.
Yeah, it's something I think about from time to time, but definitely don't regret the way my life turned out. When I was, I think, you know, end of school, I did inter-schools and all that, but, you know, coming around year 9, year 10, went off to boarding school in Melbourne, and skiing wasn't something that I was pushing. I went to Melbourne, and I left Mount Buller, you know, in the summertime. Before that I was going to Marriegig or Mansfield on the bus back and forth, and then I found Melbourne, where I had a whole different life of, you know, sport before and after school. I was living with my mates, and I got into a bit of footy. Wasn't that coordinated, so I left that behind and took up rowing, and that really set up, you know, a strong foundation for me as an athlete. You know, weight training, we did so many sessions in the gym and on the Yarra. So when the time came back that I thought I'll go back to Buller for the year and have a good run at slalom and giant slalom, the skiing was there, came back pretty quickly, but the strength to be able to muscle through the turns and to be able to last the runs out, you know, day in, day out, being able to get 10 training runs in as opposed to 5 or 6, really paid off in terms of the dividends in trying to, you know, get back into skiing and progress from there.
So we're lucky that injury meant we didn't lose you to university in the US.
Yeah, so, yeah, lucky. I did a shoulder skiing, so the skiing injury came back about 4 years after I actually did it. And I had a winter free, so I came back up here. But, yeah, before that, in the November before that winter, there's a few schools in universities in the States that were pretty keen, and they flew me out there, had a look at the facilities, and went on the river with a few really well-known coaches. That was pretty cool to be on the river with, and opened my eyes. But it wasn't meant to be. I think I went to it's quite actually funny, probably why I didn't get in. So I went to my entrance interview over there because there's the academic side to it. And I flew in. It was the day after I arrived, and when we all travel, you lose our bags. Come on, sit up here. And anyway, so my bags were missing. They were probably on the way, still there, but I had to do my interview for the academic side of things. So I turned up to the academic interview in matching university trackies, top and bottom. And yeah, it was quite embarrassing, I think.
And so talking about Sochi, when you think of that Olympics, what's the memory that comes to mind?
I was fresh. It was young. I was excited. You had Lydia there. You had, was Dale Begg-Smith still there? I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, he was.
Was he? Yeah, I think he was, yeah. So you had all these names that were before you competing there alongside all your mates that you trained with. And at that time, you know, Chikara was there, Britt Cox. So, you know, it was just an exciting time. You just sort of really savoured the moment. And when, you know, I remember a lot of nerves at the first Olympics.
And your coach, Danny, was here last week, and he was telling us about his security experiences. How'd you go with the security?
It was the year before. The year of the Games was fine, but the test event before the Olympics to make sure they've got the track right, we went in there for the World Cup, and I was the first one off the plane, first one to customs, but they had a sneaking suspicion that I'd spent a bit of time in Syria. And I think that... seriously. And, yeah, I think that had to probably do something with my beard. But all of the tour, they took me off to the side into an interrogation room like I was on border security. Sat there for about 20 minutes while they combed my passport and my Austrian passport. Probably put in a bit of a spanner into the works. And after every one of my competitors and teammates had gone past the window waving at me, I was finally let out. But it was they're quite nervous. They had at that test event, because it's right on the border to Georgia. You at the bottom, imagine checking into Burke Street and having to go through a metal detector on the way through. And then right at the top, all the way up the top in the trees, they had snipers in the trees. And then right at the top of the distance, you can see skidoos with snipers, and there was weapons everywhere, and it was quite intimidating.
So just going back to this facial artist claim of yours, his Facebook page declares that Anton's a facial artist. Tell us about how did that come about, and where did it go?
Oh, it's still here.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't changed much. So I'm not sure of much artistry going on. But no, Steph Hickey, she raced snowboard cross at Vancouver, and she's a Buller girl. So we knew each other quite well, and I think it was early on in the 2010s. I was around at her place in Middle Park for dinner, and she's a very flamboyant character, so energetic, lovely, and she's like, you got to do something, you got to get a profile going. I'm going to start your Facebook page. And the Facebook page, I said, well, what's it going to be called? Like, it's just my name. She said, no, that's boring. So she just said facial artist and ski cross athlete, and sort of took off from there.
But it actually came to good, didn't it?
Yeah, 2015 World Championships. There was one of my teammates along the way. He's a Slovenian racer. He had a moustache, and I had a moustache at the time, but he was bigger than big in Slovenia. Red Bull athlete, and he ended up winning on the night. And his fan base from Slovenia had a couple of buses, so they got on the party bus and went across the border from Austria. And there was an after party, and there's one guy with a moustache left there. So everyone thought I was the world champion. So I was front and centre. I was behind the par pouring Stiegels. It was a great night.
I was actually waiting for the story about you shaving off your beard for a good cause.
Sorry, I went a bit rogue on that one. I shaved off the beard. It's come off every probably 3 or 4 years. Ality's seen it once off since we had her. But no, Scott Neller, an old teammate of mine, started a foundation in his father's name, the Rob Neller Youth Foundation. If you don't know it, check it out. It's quite remarkable what he's done up in Jindabyne. We shaved off my beard, and that's what started the fundraising. And I think $10,000 or $12,000 of that went to a frisbee golf course. And he sold the advertising on that to support local athletes in the area, getting them beat from kids going to primary school, subsidising their lift passes and access, through to now, they've got a ski sale, and now they, send kids on scholarship overseas and help them out. So, he was an athlete at the time, and he's really given back to the sport and the local community up there really well.
Yeah, that's a great story. And so, getting back to your greatest Olympic memory.
Greatest Olympic memory. Probably, I think, in Korea, I had... The first games was a lot of nerves, but the second games was full of... I came in pretty injured, and I was... I wasn't racing every World Cup. I was sort of waiting out the time to really, peak at the Olympics. So I was sort of... Didn't have the results leading up to it, but I was trying to ski fast for that day in particular. And I know the training, everything, what happened was, it just seemed seamless for me. When I thought about this a bit earlier, everyone sort of talks about the big moments, the parties afterwards. I think Rich Biggins was going on a couple of weeks ago about, was it Brian Adams?
Dancing on stage with Brian Adams.
How good's that? Where was Brian for me? But no, for me it was just really being in the moment, and everything seemed to click there. So I vividly remember skiing with this Slovenian racer, because we formed in 2017, I think. We a few of us, because the Australian team was a bit smaller, we banded together. So we had a few US athletes, myself and a Slovenian ski racer. The Americans didn't make the games, but so it was me and the Slovenian. And it's quite remarkable, you know, in ski cross, you got to come together. The bigger nations they've got numbers behind them. They've got 6 or 7 athletes and then a whole team underneath them, so they can work together. They can, you know, work together and they bring up the greater good. And, you know, that sort of serves for ongoing success, like the French, the Canadians, the Austrians, the Swedish have. But for us, you know, Slovenian, Australians and Americans in ski cross, it's quite unique that, you know, competing nations have to come together and create that sort of environment to come together. And me and Philip were, you know, we were open books at the Olympics, and I passed him, and in training he said, "How did you do that?" And I told him, "This is how this is what I did." And the next run in training he did the same, and he said, "Oh, geez, how good's that?" So that was me, sort of teamwork, but also, you know, it goes beyond just your nation. And that sort of really shone out for me, and sort of the friendships that built from all those connections.
I thought you were going to tell me a story about missing the gondola home.
Yeah, well, different. Yeah, true. We did talk about that. So Sochi was a really good one. Forgot that. We lived the athlete village where we were up on the hill, and there was only gondola access, no car access. And after the event, of course, you know, the Olympics, we liked to party, and we had a great time. And me and American athlete lasted the length of the night, but we forgot that the gondola shut at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Was it 3?
2, maybe 2 or 3. And it didn't open till 7 o'clock the next morning. So we looked at our watch and it was already closed for half an hour. So we had a long night. We couldn't get home. So that was just, you know, the small memories. And that it was the intimate moment that we had together at that time. It was not that intimate, but no, it was, you know, it's the connection, you know, when you, no, I don't know, you know, the small moments, the quiet moments with your friends, and, you know, a lot of those friends I don't see anymore, which is, you know, pretty hard to do. We talk on the phone, but it's the small connections, the small times, the intimate moments that really make those memories. Had one with Toby recently before his wedding. We delved into Dad's schnapps box. It's not much of a box. It's, I think, an old Shiraz box from the Barossa, and we just had a bit of a schnapps to toast his wedding the next day. So it's those sort of moments that mean a lot.
Yeah. Now, your dad had a dog, Captain. He's got a monument. But you've got a dog. Tell us about your dog.
Yeah, I've got what I always said to myself after I finish up ski racing, that because we couldn't have a dog and we never had one growing up, that I'd want to get a dog. So I got a dog when I finished up. Hey, Elodie, what's our dog's name? A bit tired. So yeah, I got a dog and we called it Diogi.
Diogi.
Yeah.
What? Please explain.
Well, I thought it was going to be a roast tonight, and there's not much roasting going on here. So, does anyone know why my dog's called Diogi? Yeah, it's just as an Alaskan guy who had the name of his dog, he told me, "You gotta be kidding me, God! It's just a goddamn dog, D-O-G."
Who's got the best coffee on the mountain?
Well, it's been quite an ongoing saga, this one. When I started the Grimus Grind in 2014, I had a stamp that I still have, the same stamp that I stamped some coffee cups with, depending on who's in there and how motivated they are to do it. And the first year I took one up the A-bomb chairlift at the time, I think it was. Was it A-bomb still around then? I don't know. Anyway, and I ventured to this establishment called Cofflers, and I hung it on the ceiling, and then just above the cutlery, there's a little hook up there. And I think it was early on in the winter I did that. And as a memory, it would have been 14th of July, because I just sent it to Toby yesterday. Came up the 12-year memory of Toby finding the coffee cup and smashing it on the desk quite aggressively. But no, I think. But saying that, the boys up at Coffers are doing a good job this year. I had a coffee up there twice, once this afternoon, and both times have been as good as the last. And I dare say they've got the coffee title this year. They've got the best looking. They're definitely the best looking baristas on Mount Buller.
Oh, no. I think the garage is pretty tidy. All right. Have we got any other questions from the floor? Toby?
So you said you liked your schnitzel back in the day. Maybe you still do. Pork or Wiener schnitzel?
I think no, Wiener Schnitzel always veal. It's the way to go. And I was having one. We have schnitzel at home a bit with the kids, but with the kids we more have chicken schnitzel. But you got to make sure you have lemon. Cranberry sauce is optional, but I had a lemon from Jane's father's farm on Finley, and I cracked it open, and lemon is a must.
Okay, well, if we have no further questions, please join me in thanking Anton.